Hello, it's really nice to be here. And I just thought I'd welcome you all to this live LinkedIn event where I'm talking about cancer and supporting yourself, perhaps supporting other people with cancer, and how mindfulness and compassion, self kindness and gratitude can really promote resilience. So there's a chat box open, and if you'd like to just say hi, let me know that you're here. That would be lovely, just so I have a sense of who's around. And then towards the end, you're really, really welcome to answer some questions. It's also being recorded, so if you can't stay around for all of it, then of course you will see the recording on LinkedIn as well. So, thank you so much for joining me. It's wonderful to have you here. So, my professional experience of cancer goes right back to a time when I was a nurse at St Thomas's Hospital, and I was doing my degree and my training at South Bank University too. And I obviously was working on the wards with people who had cancer, and that was much of my work, really supporting them through the whole process. And then I started working after a couple of years in the district. So I became a district nurse and was seeing people post-operatively, supporting them with dressings and mobility and all sorts of different aspects of their care, really coordinating their care actually with Meals on Wheels and home helps and all sorts of things that we used to have in London in the 1980s and 90s. So yeah, lots of patients that were suffering with cancer there. And then when I moved down to the southwest, I started working with a team of um, consultants and consultant psychologists, a pain consultant. So I was on a pain team and also working with patients with really complex medical and psychological needs. And of course, cancer was there too. And so that was the work I was doing until I set up Mindfulness UK in 2010. So I'm the CEO and the founder of Mindfulness UK. And naturally, people are come to our courses and to our sitting groups and our retreats and so on, to help to support themselves and to support others, often suffering with cancer or who have had cancer in the past, had survived and were trying to find a new way of living and being. And many of our trainers also have experienced that and perhaps have taken a change, a slight different course in their career because they wanted to support people in this realm. So yeah, that's sort of my professional career, and I'm just going to say hi to Catherine and to Martin. Really nice to have you here, amongst others, I'm sure. So yeah, I felt that as I was preparing for this talk, that I wanted to also be really authentic and express that I also have really significant personal experience of cancer too. So nothing really in my family. But when I was 49, I found I was diagnosed with cancer for the first time. And so uh, I had a very different experience the first time round than I did the second time. And I'm going to sort of explain why that might be. So it's from my own personal experience. But of course, I'm going to be talking something about the theory of mindfulness and compassion and kindness and gratitude and all the other aspects that I bring to my own personal experiences from my own practice. So by the time I was 49, I'd been practicing meditation, I suppose, for 24, 25 years, something like that. So I had a really good, solid grounding of meditation practice. And let's just visit, before I start too much, talking about what these practices are. So mindfulness is very much about being in the present moment, really extraordinarily helpful. Uh, being Seeing the reality of the situation and yeah, being in the now is just so profoundly beneficial, to really support ourselves in that, to see things clearly, and to be able to gain some perspective. The compassion element is this opportunity to really see our own suffering, to recognize our own suffering, and to the self kindness is to be kind to ourselves when we recognize that suffering. And there's so many different ways of doing that. And of course, I'm going to talk about that. There's also gratitude, and I have found that incredibly powerful, that even in the midst of real challenge and difficulty and pain and trauma, to be able to lift myself, to see some light, to have some relief through being grateful, even if it's just small moments, small gestures, the things that people do, or the sun on my skin, or whatever, has been incredibly important. So, yeah, having had uh, cancer at the age of 49 and being diagnosed, and then having major surgery and radiotherapy, what I really notice now retrospectively is how I sort of went through the stages of grief really significantly. And I want to just talk you through those a little bit. So, I first of all, I was in denial for, in a way of, well, how come? How could it be me? How could I have that particular cancer, which was very rare in somebody of my age? It was very aggressive. I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't know exactly what. And luckily, my GPs are amazing. And so, yeah, I kept having investigations until it was discovered. But yeah, still that sense of being in shock and denying, and perhaps a little detached at the same time as feeling overwhelmed by this diagnosis, that I know people say it came out of the blue, but it literally did. It really knocked me sideways. And then I moved from that quite quickly into, in the terms of the grief, it's more the terror zone, as one of my friends calls it. I wasn't really angry with myself. I was just terrified, and I think it's very similar emotion, in that fire, that flaring up activation, that's not really very helpful, but to really recognize throughout my mindfulness practice that it's quite a normal response, and it's okay that I felt like that, that that this is just how it is for now. And I also was really connected to the transient nature of things, and knew that this too would shift and this would change. But there was a lot of energy, I think, negative energy at that time. And also I felt that I was being judged by others, which was completely my own fabrication. And it was actually self judgment. And recognizing that I was transferring my own judgment of myself onto others, and being able to pull back from that was extraordinarily beneficial. And there was a lot of bargaining. And actually, I recognized as I was preparing for this that I did that too in the second time, that there was a lot of bargaining about. What's this about? If I do everything right, then but can I ensure that it won't happen again? Uh, if I behave in this certain way, will that ease things for me? And so on. So I was really feeling that I wanted to bring some sense of control back, I think, looking at it retrospectively. And by doing this bargaining, then I felt like I might gain some control, and really noticing that the importance here was to let go, to relinquish. And I do sometimes think that being a nurse, and I've worked at the Royal Marsden as well, being a nurse sometimes worked in my favour, and sometimes it didn't. Sometimes knowing too much can be a problem. So recognizing through my mindfulness practice that it's not my fault, and that these things happen, and I couldn't have done anything to ameliorate it, to prevent it. And that was a huge relief for me. I didn't really go through the next stage, which was depression. I think my mindfulness practice really supported me in that. But I did move my way through to acceptance, and that took a long time. I'm not going to lie. It did take a long time to reach a level of acceptance. So yeah, all of those aspects are really were really profound for me through my mindfulness practice. But I really remember a day where I was doing my meditation, which I did every single day, continued to do. I remember sitting, I remember exactly where I was and the weather and everything, and not knowing if I was going to live or die before I had my op, because they didn't know the extent of it. And uh, just having this moment of, I'm doing this mindfulness practice, but it's just not serving me well. It's not enough. What else do I need? What else can I do? And I had tears just streaming down my face. And it just came to me, I've got to be more compassionate. I've got to be more self-compassionate. So my history as a child and growing up it wasn't really encouraged in my family or in those days. And so it felt like a whole new world, that I needed to do a deep dive into. And I think part of the bargaining aspect of it was very much, I've been missing something. I mean, I've been a very compassionate person. I've been a nurse and carer and all sorts of things throughout my life. But yes, really looking at self-compassion and how extraordinarily difficult that was for me. So yeah, looked at that, and I'm really fortunate. I have lots of people that I can connect with, and I've reached out to my sangha, my community, my nursing friends, of whom many were working in oncology at the time and were amazing. My more the Buddhist side of things, to be supported by people who are long-term meditators, that was of profound importance. And I read every book that I possibly could on self-compassion: Christopher Germer, Kristin Neff, Tara Brach, Sharon Salzberg. I mean, the list just goes on, and I'm eternally grateful to them, because that's what contributed massively to my recovery. And so I started to really recognize, as I was going for more treatment, I was having radiotherapy. And of course, there's just such a raft and conveyor belt of treatments and consultations and decisions. Oh, the options and decisions and everything that you have to kind of get your head around so quickly. And the chopping and changing too. So for 1 minute, I'm going to have this, and then the next minute, I'm going to have that. And yeah, what's the percentage call if you have that, and all sorts of things. And being having done a degree in a science degree in, to all intents and purposes, I really wanted to go into the science of it and to really understand what was going on too. And the self-compassion helped me through all of those different stages. So sitting in a waiting room, thinking about, I'm going to see a consultant, and they can say, one thing, or completely the opposite end of the spectrum. How am I going to cope with that? And particularly doing grounding practices, really feeling my feet on the floor, sometimes pacing around. There's no question about it. Sometimes I just had to walk. I needed to shake off the adrenaline, to mobilize and metabolize, and that was really helpful. And then when I was sitting in, hearing the news, whichever news it was, feeling the breath in my body, and also I had an internal voice that I had was developing at that time. It made me squirm a little bit, but the compassion voice of, "You're doing really well, Karen. Um, just it's okay. This isn't something that you have any control over. Just be with things as they are at the moment," and really praising and supporting myself in that way, knowing that also having somebody with me always was an act of kindness. So I framed or reframed that I really needed somebody to be there with me, so that they could listen and have a clearer mind, probably. But instead of me seeing that I was lacking in some way, I saw it as a massive act of self-kindness. So all of these things I found really helpful. And then the compassion and the gratitude was absolutely for the people that I was being looked after by. I mean, I thought that they were an amazing team, and everybody I came into contact with, and I really expressed my gratitude, and I felt that that was so helpful for me. So I'd gone from a huge, long period of time of meditation, and then was sort of mindfulness meditation, and then was sort of catapulted into working with self compassion, which, as I say, I found very challenging to begin with. But the more I did it, the more I practiced it, the better I got at it. So I think my mindfulness practice was the sort of foundation for this. But then the compassion element and learning specific self-compassion practices was the key. It wasn't just about having an overview of, oh, I must be more compassionate. I kept asking myself, well, how do I do it? I've never been taught it. Nobody's ever explained this one to me. So how do I do it? And so, yeah, really looking into all the different books and podcasts and so on and so forth, and taking on a lot of those strategies of the internal self-talk, the self-soothing of giving myself a hug and stroking my hair. I found really reassuring right throughout. And just reframing so much of how I behaved as acts of self-kindness, taking along my water bottle with me, making sure that after I afterwards we would go and have a drink of something, a coffee or tea or something, or go for a little walk when I got home to make sure that I got some fresh air and so on and so forth. So I had my operation, had the radiotherapy, rehabilitated slowly but surely, got myself together, was still working at this time. So obviously I'd set up Mindfulness UK in 2010. It was 2013-14 now. I was teaching yoga and teacher training and all the rest of it. And by 7 years post, I really recognised I'm back. I feel confident. I've made some changes in my life, both through my practice, but also looking at my nutrition and my exercise and all sorts. Again, acts of self-compassion, self-kindness. And then again, out of the blue, literally 10 years later, so in 2023, had a diagnosis of a second primary, completely different place. And again, back into that realm of different consultants, same hospital, so on and so forth. And really noticing the difference. My goodness me, how I approached it differently this time. It was more major surgery. It was way bigger and body changing, life changing surgery, and had a really huge impact on me physiologically. I was so fatigued and really knocked back by the whole thing. And I was suffering a lot of pain, a huge amount of pain, as well as trauma. So pain from the surgery, as well as just the trauma of the whole process. But I approached it with calmness. I'm not saying that I was calm all the time, by the way, but with more equanimity. I knew that I'd done this before. I really listened clearly to what people were saying, and I didn't catastrophize. I didn't ruminate. I took my time. I paced myself around what was going on, and I constantly asked myself the question, what can I do right now to be kinder to myself? Oh, even that question makes me feel a little bit. So that's what I did. I asked myself that question over and over again, and I acted upon it. It might have been, you need to put your slippers on, or you just need to close your eyes and just have a rest. And I recognized the power of the practice, and that helped me to pace, prioritize what I could and couldn't do, knew that I would have good days and bad days, and that in the midst of all I knew that this too will change, and that I wasn't so caught up in, well, what am I going to be like? How is it going to be for my future? How am I going to recover? Um, However am I going to recover from this? And I really recognise the support of my friends, my colleagues, my employees, my family, and how immensely powerful that was. And so I'm in a place now of having recovered and having a really good prognosis. I also have a raft of scans and things next month, and I can already feel my stress levels coming up. But I stimulate my parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest, by deep breaths, feet on the floor, choosing how to look after myself, making sure somebody's with me, and making all those choices. I know that this is my personal story, and that other people will have completely different stories, and I really appreciate that, and that this isn't open and accessible to everybody in the way that I had done it, because I'd had such a lot of practice beforehand. But I really recognise the power of the shorter practices. And although I'd already clearly written the Compassionate Mindful Resilience program, and I'd started delivering it, and the research was coming through, and it all was very powerful and incredibly beneficial for people who were both working in health and social care and for patients as well. I really felt it. I had an opportunity to really go through the course over and over again in some respects, and the practices within the course sustained me hugely, of breath awareness, of self-compassion, of self-soothing, of kindness, of gratitude, perspective taking. And I felt so much more resilient in this second experience. And I really attribute that to the combination of mindfulness and compassion. And I'm incredibly grateful for those experiences. So, just to sort of say a little bit about shorter practices, because I know that most of us have more of an understanding perhaps of longer practices. And the shorter practices I see as being really accessible and obviously really relevant. So you can pick and choose whatever practice feels right for you in that moment. And they provide a real toolkit for me. So I have all of those different practices that I could and can still lean into, turn towards when I need to. I also see that they gave me such psychological flexibility to be able to see that I could hold fear and terror and hope and love all in the same way, in the same moment, in the same time, sort of non-judgmentally. So recognizing what was coming up and all the different emotions and experiences, and seeing their interrelationship, their interdependence, but also not necessarily completely seeing that it's I am. I would say something like there's an experience here of fear. There's an experience of anxiety, or I can see that anxiety is present. So I was using language where it wasn't like I'm full of fear, because that made it feel for me too embodied and close, and like I was a bit trapped. So if I could just stand back a little bit and say to myself something like, there's anger, or there's anxiety, that was really helpful for me and helped me to feel really empowered. So yeah, realistic practices. I remember after my second, I was lying on obviously in a hospital bed with an air mattress, bubbling away. And I started to do mindful movement. I was only out of surgery, I don't know, 8 hours or something. It was an 8-hour surgery, and had been out for 8 hours, or compos mentis. And I started to do some mindful movement because it felt so familiar to me, and it gave me a sense of connecting with myself and this new body that I was experiencing. So yeah, it's portable. You can do these practices anywhere, anytime. And this sense of being empowered, I don't think it's to be underestimated. I felt much more in control, but not in a firm, hard, boundaried way. I felt like I had some agency, I think is a better word for it, perhaps. The practices gave me some agency around the fact that I could do something. And instead of lying there feeling like I was suffering, I was a victim to cancer, I just thought, well, instead of just lying here because I need to, because I'm in pain, why don't I do a body scan practice, for instance? And that gave me a sense of I'm doing something to help myself, even though externally it didn't look any different. Internally, it had a huge impact. I'm also a yoga teacher, and I used a lot of yoga nidra, and a very dear friend sent a lot of her practices too for me to be able to use. So I found yoga nidra was really beneficial too. So I was reaching out to people, and I think again that's an act of self-kindness. It doesn't show that we're weak in any way. It's showing our vulnerability and just saying, "Can you help me? It would be really lovely if you could support me by doing this." And people are amazing when you reach out and invite support in. It just comes in floods, and I just really appreciate that so much. So yeah, that vulnerability, and Brené Brown talks about how it engenders courage, and I had a sense of that this time round, which I really didn't last time. So yeah, the other thing that I found really helpful was journaling. So I'm actually not one for writing things down particularly. I generally have a pretty good memory, but at that moment my memory was not good. So I got my phone, and I have now a year and a half's worth of recordings on my phone from the day I had my surgery to just a couple of days ago when I recorded. And I find them really helpful to be able to reflect back on where I've been and how far I've come. And after I listen to those recordings, I just sit and reflect on the positives, and that's for me the gratitude, positive for being here, and for being, yeah, how I am in this moment and doing the best I can under the circumstances and being supported so fully. So yeah, that's sort of all the things that have really supported me, well, not all of them, but so many of the things that have supported me, the people around me. But as I say again, it's an unknown still, and every day I have to deal with the physical um, changes of my body, and there's no kind of forgetting it. There's no moving away from it, and just this acceptance of things is something I come in and out of at the moment, to be honest. I do, of course, accept it, but there's even this morning I noticed a little voice coming in saying, "What? Why is it like this? How come?" And just being kind to myself about it and saying, "Just look after yourself right now. Do what you need to do. It's all right." So, yeah, just I've mentioned it already, the Compassionate Mindful Resilience Program, which was developed, as I say, in 2020 and has been really significantly researched. And what I've decided to do, now it's been recognised by IAMBA, BAMBA and worldwide, is that I've decided to offer the course specifically for people who have had an experience of cancer, either going through it now, have had it, or have cared for somebody who has had it. And we're offering it all online, so you don't have to come out of the comfort of your own home or your bed or wherever you are. And it starts on the 9th of June. And I'm just looking down at the dates here, the 16th and the 30th of June, and then the 7th of July. So there's a little gap in the middle between the second and the third session. And it's for 2 hours at a time. And they're all the practices from the Compassionate Mindful Resilience Program, all the content is taught. But obviously it's framed and bespoke for people who have experienced cancer in some way or another. And I teach it obviously from a place of knowing. And so, yeah, I feel really privileged to be able to continue with my wonderful work that I absolutely adore, and really want to support people as best I possibly can with the practices that I know really transformed my experience of uh, all the different aspects of diagnosis and consultations and scans and radiotherapy, chemotherapy, and all the treatments and the operations and recovery. So yeah, please do have a look at the course at mindfulnessuk.com, and email us if you wish, info@mindfulnessuk.com. There's a video of me talking about it a little bit more, and yeah, if you want to find out more, just send us a message or give us a call, and I'd be really happy to talk to you. But please share it as well if you know of anybody who might benefit. Oh. So yeah, really open to receive any questions that you might have. As I say, the chat box is open, so yeah, please do pop something in the chat if there's anything there for you, anything arising or any comments that you'd like to make. I'd really love to hear from you. Just allowing some time to let it settle. Yeah, just to say that I think what the practices help us to do as well is to really anchor ourselves, grounding, anchoring, centering, bringing myself back to my center, and knowing my core values as well was so helpful to be able to align my decisions and my the way that I treated myself with my core values. And that, again, is something that we learn on the Compassionate Mindful Resilience program. And it really did offer me some congruency around how I dealt with myself. Oh, thank you so much. Amazing share. Thank you. Oh, I really, really appreciate it. Okay. So it seems that no other comments are coming in. So really happy to draw this to a close. And please don't just leave it there. If you're watching this either live or on the recording, please do reach out to us. info@mindfulnessuk.com is our email. Or you can call us or just look on the website and you'll find everything that we do on there. So yeah, thank you. Bless you. Oh, a rough structure of the course. Thank you, Martin. So it's 2 hours a week every week, apart from the gap in the middle. We start off with mindfulness and then move to self-compassion. I look at my iceberg model, which is in my book, Compassionate Mindful Inquiry in Therapeutic Practice, and then start to sort of do a deeper dive into core values and looking at how we build emotional intelligence as well. So there are different practices perhaps than you've ever done where we look at emotional language. So we do a practice around that, self-appreciation practice, and self-kindness, self-soothing. So there are some different practices in there. And then we move from looking at how we learn about emotional intelligence and then how to really imbue our lives with more of an emotional dialogue and resourcefulness to build resilience, which is the last couple of modules. So there are 8 modules. The last couple of modules we're looking at building more resilience and pulling all the strands really of the course together to support people in their real life. It's not just conceptual, intellectual kind of a way of looking at things. It's really an embodied, heartful experience of, okay, so you're going through this. What can you use to feel more resilient? And not only on the course, but moving forward. So you get access to all the practices, and there's also an e-journal, which is a reflective journal that I developed only last year to work with alongside the program, where we're asking all sorts of inquiry questions after practices or after discussions. So there's an opportunity for people to talk about not fully their experience. It's not a therapy group at all, but to really bring to the fore suffering and perhaps conversations about trauma and pain management and so on. So it's really it's a full course, considering it's 8 hours, and then really looking at how to move forward beyond the course, supporting yourself more fully. So yeah, lovely. Thank you, Martin, for that prompt, that question. I really appreciate it. And thank you, for the comments. They're wonderful to receive, and as I say, it's been a heartfelt talk that's more from the body and the heart from anywhere else. So I'm pleased that you enjoyed it and you gained from it, and do stay in touch. Thank you both all so much. It's really, really lovely to have been here and been able to share my experiences with you. Thank you.